Всем здравствуйте, с вами Алексей, и я в общем, решил, а, решил прочитать один из рассказов, на английском языке. Кому интересно, можете послушать. Нет? Ну, в общем, будет интересно, я думаю. Итак, рассказ называется "Kiss Before Dying". Part 1. Dorothy Capture 1. The room near the campus. April 1950. Night was coming to the town of Blue River, in the state of Iowa. It was nearly dark in the small room near the Stoddard University campus. The two people in the room that Sunday evening were both second year students at the college. They were looking at each other in silence. The handsome young man was angry. His plan had been working so well, and now this news had come. But he wasn't going to show his anger. That wouldn't help him. He walked to the window and for a few seconds he looked out at the lights of the town. He looked at the yellow lights in the streets. He looked at the red light on top of the municipal building, the tower which was the tallest building in Blue River, a mile or two away. He turned and he smiled at the young woman sitting on the bed. "I love you," the young woman replied miserably. "I don't care about being poor. I don't care about being poor. I don't care about my family." Are you sure that you're pregnant? He asked her gently. Сейчас вот это вот посмотрим, как он читается правильно.
Pregnant.
Pregnant. Угу. He asked her gently. "Are you really sure that you're going to have a baby?" "Yes, I'm sure," she replied. "The doctor told me that I'm 2 months pregnant." They start to cry. "What will we do? Can we get married soon?" "Don't cry," the young man said. "Everything will be ok." He smiled again. The young woman stopped crying and tried to smile too. "Oh, let's get married right away," she said. "I'm sure that my father will like you when he meets you. We'll be so happy." "Well, we could get married immediately," the young man said. "But this isn't what I'd planned, Dorothy. You know that I'd planned to meet your father in New York in the summer, at the end of the college year. I wanted to ask him for permission to marry you then. I want your father to like me, Dorothy," he went on quickly. "If we're already married when I meet him, he'll guess the reason. He'll guess about your pregnancy. He won't like that. He'll be angry. He'll stop giving you money. We'll be poor. I'll have to leave college and get a job in a store. And you'll have to leave college to take care of the baby. We'll have to live in a trailer. How will you feel about that? How will your family feel about it? I love you, the young woman replied miserably. I don't care about being poor. I don't care about my family. We'll be happy, I'm sure about that. And I don't believe that my father will be angry. Anyway, we don't have any choice. I'm pregnant. We'll have to get married soon. The handsome young man walked over to Dorothy and put his arms around her. Tonight he had to pretend to love her. "We do have a choice," he said. "What do you mean?" The young woman whispered nervously. "I know someone who can help us," he replied. "You don't have to be pregnant, Dorothy." The young woman pushed him away from her. "You want me to have an abortion?" she said angrily. "No, I won't do it." And she started to cry again. "Listen to me," the young man said. "I do love you, Dorothy. You know that, but I don't want to destroy your life. Your family is rich. You don't know about being poor, but I know about it. You would hate it. Listen, I want to marry you next summer, with your father's permission. The, he'll go on giving you money. We'll uh, rent a little house near the campus. It will be wonderful. But you mustn't have this baby. I won't have an abortion." Вот что такое abortion? Я не все там слова знаю, если честно. Abortion, аборт. Ну, так и предполагал. Dorothy shouted. "You won't need an operation," the young man replied quietly. "You'll only have to take some pills. I can get them from a guy in one of my classes. His uncle owns a drugstore here in Blue River." He held the unhappy young woman in his arms again. For the next hour he whispered in her ear. He told her many things that she wanted to hear. At last he looked at his watch. "You must go back to your dormitory," he said. "It's nearly 10 o'clock. I'll meet you tomorrow evening under the tree outside the pharmacy laboratory. I'll meet you at 8 o'clock. I'll bring the pills in." When his girlfriend had gone, the handsome young man put his hands over his face. "Oh, good," he said desperately. He, he'd planned everything so carefully, but he'd been careless about one thing. He'd only made love with Dorothy once. He'd had to make her believe that he loved her, but he'd been careless, and now she was pregnant. "I can't marry her if she's pregnant," he told himself. "I will not live in a trailer with Dorothy and the baby." The young man was desperate because he wanted to marry Dorothy Kingship. He wanted to marry her because she was rich. He wanted to marry her because her father was the owner of Kingship Cooper Incorporated. When the young man had found out that a young woman in his economics and philosophy classes was one of Leo Kingship's daughters. His life had changed. He had begun to think of an exciting future for himself. He had thought of a future with lots of money, a beautiful house, and a good job with Kingship's big, successful company. Soon after meeting Dorothy, he had written to the offices of Kingship Cooper and asked for some information about the company. The Kingship offices in New York City had sent him some brochures. He kept them at the bottom of a drawer in his desk. Every night he took the brochures out and he read them. Every night he looked at the photos of the great kingship, smelting works in Alliance, and read about how much money the company had earned in the last year. The handsome young man wanted a good future very much. His early life hadn't been easy. He had been born in the little town of Manassas, near Fall River, Massachusetts. He was an only child. He had no brothers or sisters. His parents had been poor. His mother had hated her husband because he had never had a good job. Her son had become the most important thing in her life. She was interested only in him. His father was dead now, and his mother still thought that the young man was the most important thing in her life. By the time he was 18, the young man had started to believe that all women were like his mother. Lots of women had been interested in him. They liked him because he was very handsome. Usually they were older women with plenty of money. They had enjoyed making love with him, but the interest in him had never lasted very long. Each time another handsome young man had replaced him after a few months. Now he had hated women, but he was still happy to spend the money. Why did Dorothy get pregnant? He asked himself angrily. She's a stupid young fool. The young man was 24 years old, 5 years older than Dorothy. He was older than most of the other students at Stoddard University. He had been in the USA Army for a few years before he came to Stoddard. He had fought in the Far East in 1945, the last year of the war. That was where he had learned that it was easy to destroy lives. Although he was angry with Dorothy Kingship, the young man suddenly felt a little sorry for her. She was a very possessive person, and possessive people were difficult people to like. Я думаю, что на этом все. В следующий раз мы с этого места продолжим. Так что всем спасибо за просмотры. Надеюсь, что эта рубрика, думаю, зайдет. Всем пока, удачи и пишите, понравилось вам или нет. Все, всем пока.